Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as my friends over at Yarnspirations.com. This is the final of the Llama-No-Drama. This is the final as we're going to be doing the halter that you see here. We're going to be doing the blanket today. We're going to be finishing off the tassels just like you see, and we're going to be applying a little bit of bangs. So without further ado, let's take a closer look at this pattern and see what we're going to get ourselves into today. So for the halter, what's going to happen is that we're going to chain into a circle like so, and you're going to want to try it onto your llama in order to get that right size. So it does have a suggestion which we will get to, and then you change a certain amount of coming around. So you want to try it on. You'll notice that it just wraps around the back of the head like it normally would for a llama. So these tassels that you see are added on afterward, and there's a little bit more to the ring stuff that we're going to be doing as well. So also what we're going to be doing today is the blanket. It just rests on the back, but there is a tie here that ties it to the front of the character if you wish, and then you can apply there. So the halter has 4 tassels. There's 1, and there's 1 a little bit drooping down, and then 1 and 2 in the back, and then 1 at each at the end of these. So it's a kind of a neat idea, right? So it's asking you to use contrast and colors when you go to make these tassels. We also have a step out video on how to make tassels, but I made them with using a tassel maker, but you can use your fingers if you want to as well. So let's begin, and we're going to start with the bangs. To begin the bangs, we want a long tail to be started, and we're going to be using the regular size crochet hook, the size F, a 3.75 millimeter hook, and we're just going to be chaining a total of 10, and in that 10 we're going to be playing around. So let's just chain 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Once you have your 10 there, just cut an extra long tail here, and then we're going to move on. So once it's cut, just pull it through and let it sit to the side. We're now going to take that main color that we've been playing with, and we want to cut 20 lengths, and they only have to be around 3 inches long. I go a little bit longer because I get a little panicky. If you cut it too short, then you regret it. So what I want to do is cut 20 strands of the same size. So just continue to do that, and I'll be right back in just a moment. Now that we have 20 strands cut, we want to grab them by 2s. So just make sure you grab 2 together and just kind of fold it like this. Now taking your regular chain that you just started, there's 10 chains here. So starting in the first one, I just want you to go in and just pull through, and then just get enough space so that you can put those tails through that hole. Sometimes a hook is just not feasible, and sometimes your hands are just as good. So what I want you to do is all 10 of those stitches, I want you to put that in, and then meet me back here in just a moment. So now that they're all lined up and ready, so you have the 2 long strands, and now you have the other one. So what I would do if I were you and you were me, I would actually line it up, and you want to go right to where the hairline starts, like where the fur starts, and then just put it there. And what I think you should do before you go any further, because I have mine a little bit longer, I want to try it, not sew it on, but just put it on there and determine how long I want to go. It'll take a lot more effort if you have to unwind all of these just to get to the height that you need. So it almost looks like it's 3 times the size. So I'm gonna try it on my character and see what I'm gonna do, and then I'm going to only open up 1 and determine whether that's good or not. Okay, so now that I have my height that I think I need, hopefully it's right, what I'm going to do is take a tapestry needle and just start plying open here. You can also use a brush or a comb, and all you just want to do is just run it through and just have these all untwist themselves, all these little fibers that are in there. So there's 4 plies per one, so just work your way through and just take your time and just start opening them up. Okay, so what I just did is that I was lazy and I used a brush in order to brush this out. It's not perfect, but either is a llama, and it gets it open. So anything that I want to just further do, I can just do final touch-ups if I want to, just to be able to separate the plies that are in there. And what I'm gonna do is now is that I'm gonna sew this to the hairline or the fur line of the character. Just kind of do that and just whip stitch it into place, and let's do that, and then I'll be back and we'll carry on in this part of the tutorial. So let's move along and do the halter. We're going to start off with just making the ring first, but the ring may have to be adjusted towards your style of character. So my character is about 6 inches too big. So maybe the chain 30 in the ring will not make sense for me. So what you want to do, and it says, the designer says, make sure that it kind of fits and just adjust if you have to. And then for the head strap, you want to go around the back of the head and then attach to the other side of the halter. So you're gonna want to have your character close by in order to do this. So let's do this. So you're going to use just some fun yarn in order to begin. It's B, so in my case it'll be blue, and then we're gonna do something more to the strap. So we're gonna try it on the first time and then take it off and then just do a second round with a different color in order to have some fun with this. So let's start off with our next color. This is B, in my case it's blue. So you either want to chain 30, and then once you get it done, then just attach it, or attach it to make a ring, and then try it on your character just right in the snout area to see if it's gonna fit around. Just look at the photograph and see how it's gonna work out. And so you're chaining 30 in order to go around, or you're just gonna adjust it in order to make it match your character. So if your character is much smaller, you just make a less chain. So please try this now. Okay, I just tested it on my character. So what I'm gonna do is now form a ring. So I'm just gonna slip stitch to the other side, and then it says to chain 49 in order to go around the back of the head back to the other side of the halter. Again, try it on your character. So just chain the amount that you think is needed. So it's either 49, or try it on the character, and once you have enough chains, and it can wrap around the back of the head and then attach to the other side of the nose or the snout, then you know it will make sense. So please do that now. So I just chained 49 and it fits. So considering my character's monstrosity, obviously I'm a loose crocheter. So come to the opposite side of the starting ring. I just looked at it. I didn't really count. Okay, so I want to attach, and then I want to fasten this off. So what we're going to do is that we're going to go around this whole thing once again to create the look that you kind of see in the blanket itself. And so we're just gonna create a knot. Make sure it's nice and secure, but don't get rid of this yarn yet. Okay, so just leave the 2 strands on both sides here, and then we're gonna begin one more layer of this. So what I want to do is grab another color, leave a long strand to begin. It's all kind of the fun part, and start where you began before. Okay, so you're just going to go, and you're gonna go in the back loop only, just like this. And you are going to slip stitch in each of the chains. This is how the blanket's done. So just slip, just pull through and through. It doesn't take much time at all. So just in the back loop only, just slip and leave the tail out of the way, and slip all the way around. And when you get all the way around, you're gonna end up being on the back strap that goes behind the head of the character. So just follow this all the way back to the other side. So this whole thing will end up having slip stitching in the back loops all the way around. So please do this now. Okay, once you get all the way around, just leave a long strand here, and we want to secure that with a knot. So you'll notice on the harness is that their halter that they are using tassels. So there's actually a total of 6 tassels complete for this project. 4 of them are on the harness, and 2 of them are on one side and 2 is on the other. One is kind of up close to the join, and the other one's just slightly dragging down. So we have a step out video, meaning that there's another video on how to make tassels, but I'll just quickly cover that just for your own benefit. And then if you need a more accurate way to do it, then you can just go to that step out video. Now for the tassels, you can use your fingers if you want to and just wrap it around 10 times, or you can use a tassel maker. This is the smallest one of the batch. Just to quickly show you how one is used, and there's a step out video for this as well. So you want to get 2 smaller strands ready for you. So let's just pick some yarn that's here on the desk. Okay, so what you're going to do is that you're going to put the one strand in the one side there and the other in the other, and this side you want it to be smaller a little bit. Okay, and you can pull it over. Now grabbing a new piece of yarn, you can just pinch it, and you're just gonna wrap 10 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Once you have 10 done, then you just trim it, and before you go any further, tie this. So move that strand back to the center point. You want that strand long enough so you can actually tie it onto something, and just tie it really good. And then the secondary strand, you can just say it's blue, but you want to use a contrasting color, so let's use that. So it's for the contrasting color, they want you just to go across. So using that gapping space that you see, push it down through and then bring it back to the top and then just tie it. They want you to use contrasting colors, but if it bothers you, of course, do what you think is more right for you. And they want you to trim those a little bit smaller. Now you're ready to take it off this, so just turn it upside down. Just stretch out the fibers and just trace it along the base. Once you can have it clear, just slide it off. So you'll notice that it looks kind of disheveled, it looks a little unorganized. So you just want to kind of just pull strands and it will pull it in, and then just kind of use your hands and just kind of measure what you think. So what I have done is that it looks like this when it's done, but if you take it through a steamer, just like a steamer, you can get more of a nicer look, and therefore you can have stuff like this, and then you can use the tie tassel to tie it to anything that you need to do. So let's begin to do that next. We're now back to the halter. So what you want to do is that you just want to use your crochet hook and attach it to where it kind of joins right here, and you're attaching the strand that is leading to the tassel up, and you want to tie it there. So the one strand the one tassel is closer to the join, and the other one is just falling down a little bit. So just kind of tie it, and they want you to leave the strands a little bit open, as far as like they don't want you to cutting it right down. They want you to have some of this fun little flare coming out of it. Okay, so the next one that they want you to do is that let's just I'm gonna use blue. So the next one they want you to do, just near that same spot of the join, but this time they want you to just leave a little bit of space so that it's falling down a little bit longer. And once you figure out where that sweet spot is, just tie it. Now you happen to see that I'm using orange. When I'm going into orange, that's just a fluke. Use any colors that you think is the best for you. So you want to do both sides of the halter like this. So that's falling a little bit more. And then just get rid of any of the loose ends. Just keep them. They want you to have it a little bit disheveled, unorganized. And that's how they want you to do it. So the strands that you had that were longer, you can also leave that as part of the look. If you don't like that look, then you want to just trim that more carefully, but it's all part of the character for this look. So you want to do the other side just the same way. I'm now going to show you how to do the blanket. I would highly recommend that you use a stitch marker for this. Now what's happened here is that there's two different samples here. I started off and do you see how I'm missing stitches here? I'm missing stitches on both sides because I'm missing where the edge is. So what I'm recommending to you is get rid of that, and I end up restarting because it ended up being the fact that I was missing stitches. So you can see that I put a stitch marker in here as I went so that I can mark the ending and the last of each of the rounds. This is using a slip stitching of two strands at the same time, and when you do that it creates this beautiful look here, and the colors are organized by what it's suggesting in the pattern. So I just happen to have a little bit of a color variation here with adding an orange and some pinks here in reference to what the original pattern was. So you're gonna end up with strands on both sides of the project, and you want to leave them long. You want to braid them together. You don't have to braid it like this. You can braid it to be much smaller if you wish. It's up to you. And then I just did a long braid and then I had it hang down. So you can go back as far as you need to go. So if you've got a character that's smaller or bigger, then what happens is you can adjust. Also I did it a little bit larger in the width here to go over my character. I looked at where it ends. So if you look at the character here, you'll see that it ends near to the back of the legs here. So that's where I finished. So that's kind of how mine goes. So the top of the blanket here ends up attaching to the neck of the character, so it just as a tie, and then the back is left open and it's just hanging. So I'm recommending you get a stitch marker for what I'm about to show you, and then once I show you, it's actually pretty easy. It took me honestly about an hour and a half to make this little thing. I know it's hard to believe that, but because you're slip stitching and you're changing out the yarns and moving the stitch marker, it can be a little bit time consuming, but this is pretty much almost the end of the story. Now each row that we're about to do is going to be separate. So you have to mark the edges. That's why I was losing my edges. So when you start off a row, you want to leave an extra long tail, maybe about 10 inches. And then that's, in this case, that's where I'm going to start my slip knot. So I want each one of these tails to be at the side of the blanket. So the project says that it is going to chain 26. What I also did is that I rolled out a ball from the center of it, and also the other one is from the ball itself. So I got two balls going on at one time, so it's double stranding. So I'm just gonna do 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So right where the 10th one is, okay, that's where I want to worry about. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm going to apply a stitch marker in. So what I want to use is the smaller hook of the two and apply a stitch marker in the last loop that we just did, like that. And I want to go to the very first one and into the first with the other stitch marker. You'll be thanking yourself later. It seems like it's extra work, it is, but you won't lose your edges then. So once you get that done, this yarn is done. So the very first time across, you're going to use the same color twice, but you can't go across with the same color. You have to, or you can't go across, you have to finish it and then just pull on it so that you have a tassel on the other side. But because you've now marked it with the stitch marker, you know exactly where to start. So when you start the next one, and so the first two rows are the same color and the last two rows are the same color. So when you do the next row, create a slip knot first. And watch what I'm about to do is so critically important. This is what I figured out. So I want to go in the loop here, just one loop, right where the one is marked. The first one is always going to be a little bit tough. And I want to just yarning over, so leave the tassel side out and just pull through and through. Chain one and slip stitch into that same one. So going in and slip. Right where you just did that slip stitch is where you want to move your stitch marker. So right in the last one, and that's where it's gonna go. Don't worry about what you just all created here. When you pull this tight, which I don't want you to do yet, is that it's going to all work itself out. So in the one back loop only, in this case, it'll be all the front loops going forward. But it's just easier just to tell you that. You just, as long as it's just one loop, you want to go all the way back to the start of your project. So we've marked it with the stitch marker, so we know exactly where the start is, or the ending of this row. Okay, and I'm going into that one. But before you finish, okay, so I want you just to cut this yarn, leave about 10 inches. And then just pull up on it like so, and then grabbing that other hook, going in and move the stitch marker up to that stitch, and therefore you know exactly which one is the end. It seems obvious now, but once you start rotating this thing around, it can get kind of tough. So now you're gonna rotate and go in the other direction. So now you're going to grab a different color, the sequence is there, and leave about 10 inches, 8–10 inches, and create a slip knot. And you want to come in the front loop only. Okay, so you can see where it is by the stitch marker, and you're gonna come in, move that tassel area yarn, okay, which is the starting, to the other side. It can be a little bit fumbly at first. Once you get used to it, it's easier. So just pull through and through, chain one, and then slip stitch. And now that I just slip stitch, that is where I'm going to apply that stitch marker. So going into the last one where I just slip stitched, go right across and pull that stitch marker through, and therefore you'll see it when you get back to the other side. As an experienced crocheter, usually I don't use stitch markers if I don't have to, but in this case I want to because it's the only way to keep an eye on it. So going in the front loop only, just slip stitch yourself across. This slip stitching is what's creating those beautiful striping effect that you see. It almost looks like it's knitting. I almost think a whole blanket like this would be awesome, but it would take you quite some time to do that. I think a temperature blanket in this would be awesome too. Okay, so see where the stitch marker is? That's the last one. So before I go too far, I want to finish it. So I want to slip, and I leave about 8 inches, and I pull through, and then that last one where I was just at, I want to go under there and then pull the stitch marker through so I can see it next time I'm through. So when you turn, you can see the stitch marker, so you're gonna leave about 8 inches and then start slipping across. So you're going in, attach, chain 1, slip stitch, attach the, move up the stitch marker, slip stitch in the front loop of each one of these, and here in the end. So when you get a little bit further down, all you can just do is just reef on these ends and things will come in. I don't want you reefing them on them right away. So the blanket is actually made up of some braids that are on these sides, and we're gonna talk about that next. So you wanna go to the distance that you wanna go. Just look at it, keep measuring it to your character, and it should be good to go. So let's see what we're gonna do with the edges of the blankets, because you're gonna end up with all these tails on the sides. So eventually you're gonna get all the way. So they're just asking you to braid 3 together. So just keeping the strands together, just braid 3 and then just go braid a little bit and then just leave tassels. I kinda misunderstood, so I went longer, so big deal. So because I did that, I just came to the other side and I made it shorter on this side as well. So now what I'm gonna do is that you wanna braid, and I wanna kinda maintain what I already have going on the other side. So just pulling them out and keeping the sets together, and just braid. So I put this on my knee when I was doing it on the sofa. So just braiding them so they look good. So you do the first one and then determine if it's long enough, and then use that as your marker then for the remaining of them. So you don't have to braid as much as if you don't want to. Again, it's your own creativity, but it's a great way to be able to do it. By leaving an extra long tail, it gives you a little bit choices on what you want to do at the end as well, and I think it'd be good. So do that, and then I'll see you here in just a moment. Once you're satisfied with the depth of this, all you can just do is just take them all together and just spin them and just create a tie. And when you do the knot, just kind of push it up to the height that you need on here. So laying it down. And then what I did is that I waited, and then what I can just do with these is that I can steam them as well, and then I can just trim as well. So what we're going to do then, finally, the last thing we need to do here is that we need to attach this blanket to the character, and all we're just gonna do is some chain work in order to make that happen. So what we want to do is that we want to determine what is the front side of the blanket, and all we just need to do then is just grab your color that you want to play with, create a slip knot, create a long tail, and attach it with a slip stitch to the corner of your blanket. So all they're asking us to do then at this point is just to chain 40. I would try it on the character first before you fasten off, and then what we want to do is at the end of these chains, when we're done, is that we want to attach the other 2 tassels. So just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and keep going, and then try it onto your character before finishing off. So I did 40, it works. So I'm just gonna trim that, and then I'm going to do the same with the other side and attach, and then do a chaining of 40 there, and then we'll attach our tassels from that point. To attach the tassel, all I'm just gonna do in the last chain here is that I'm just gonna drag through the tie and then just tie it to the end. And like they show in the photograph, they don't mind these extra long tails being different colors. Again, if that bothers you, you know what to do to fix things if you want things more organized in the look. This character is meant to be fun, I think, and very celebrational in some ways. So once you get that tied, then you can be good to go, and then just safely just trim out the extra but leave a little bit of extra just for the fun of it. Your call. You decide what works for you. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna take a steamer to this, just like I did with the tassels. Do you see how organized that looks? I wanna take a steamer to this, and then I'm gonna tie it to my character. And right now we're gonna take a look at what it looks like, and I'm pretty excited about it. And at the time of actually filming this part of the video, I haven't seen it done yet, so I'm going to take some photographs and you'll be seeing that right now on camera. Thank you so much for joining us. On behalf of our friends at Yarnspirations.com, we hope that you've enjoyed, and we hope to see you again real soon right here on Yarnspirations YouTube channel, as well as the Crochet Crowd. We'll see you again real soon. Bye bye.